Hey, welcome back to the garage, everyone. All right, so I think this weekend will be the beginning of our expedition to finally eliminate the annoying idle problems with this old Cadillac 472. I've been living with it now for quite a while, and I've done everything I know to do on the outside of the engine. Well, actually, I've also taken the intake manifold off and I cleaned the carbon around the valves with a very strong chemical, and that did a good job. You can go check that out in a previous video. But the carburetor has been replaced with a really good unit that I had built, and it performs flawlessly. The ignition system is completely replaced. You know, ignition and fuel is not an issue with the car. We've got something going on in the top end. That's my theory. I did a compression check a couple of years ago, and the back two on the the back two on the driver's side were a little lower than the rest, but they were still really good. So we've got, you know, gummy lifters, or we've got valve seats that are not quite right. I don't know. There's something in there. It's got to be fixed, though. But here it is, the beginning of January 2025, and it's cold in the shop. And I'm not going to do anything until I remedy that. So there we have the Master Professional's choice since 1953. Well, whatever. Made in China. So that's what they had over at the Tractor Supply. I'm going to go ahead and unbox this thing and put some diesel fuel in it and warm this shop up, and I'll be right back and we'll dive in to the Cadillac. Well, she works like a champ, but she is a little on the loud side. But on that, on the right-hand side, there's on the white knob is a thermostat, which the old one didn't have. So I set it to 50, and when it got to 50, she shut off. So it's pretty comfy in the shop now. So let's go ahead and get on with our video. I got the battery disconnected, and next up, let's go ahead and start taking the top end of our Cadillac apart. These handy braces, these braces on these old Cadillacs are, I'm sure they serve a very useful purpose, but, well, they're in the way. The biggest pain in the butt on all of this is this compressor, because you can't get into the engine without taking that completely loose. So, I'm not going to dismantle the air conditioning just yet. I think I'm going to take the carb off next, pull these two belts off, and then I'll kind of tilt this compressor up out of the way and kind of suspend it with some ropes. That's kind of the way I did it last time when I had the intake manifold off. So we'll get started on that here in a few minutes. All right, we got the power steering pump loosened here. Basically, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just a bunch of screws, just loosen them. It'll come loose. There's a lot of stuff on this car already in previous videos, so you could just search back through a lot of this stuff I'm not going to cover in this video. I'm going to dive into the engine. So if there's other things you want to see on a 472, just type in, power steering pump or something like that, and you'll probably find something. And as a matter of fact, I know you will. So anyway, let's move on. Let's go ahead and get these belts off of here. And then I want to get this upper radiator hose. Notice I didn't say rad hose. That just sends me to the moon. It's such a goofy word. Get this hose off here next. Probably going to make a big old mess with this hose here. I'm sure there's some coolant right in there. Probably need to put a catch can underneath. All right, I keep changing my plan here. I'm going to take this compressor loose next. There's a bolt here on this corner, one on this corner, and two on the front. Little stud. I forget what went on top of that. Probably some of the emissions equipment that I removed. That one was a little loose. All right, there's another bolt down in that underneath that compressor somewhere. I can't remember where it was. But it's got to come loose before we can move it. So anyway, I need to get some of this junk out of the way. So let's go ahead and get the fuel line and PVC hose and just all that kind of jazz out of the way. Sure. So if you haven't watched the previous video on the taking the fuel line I made a couple of them really, taking off this carburetor. I made this special wrench, 1-inch cheap socket, 12 pointed, welded it, and I cut it down real thin, and I welded it to this piece of steel here. I even labeled it. It says Q-Jet. Anyway, to get around that big fat housing nut that holds a filter in, because there's like 3 inches of space between this compressor and the carburetor, and getting a conventional wrench in there is, well, it's you're not going to do it. There's the fuel line removed. I got me some paper towels in there, soaking up the little bit of gasoline that dripped out. All right, let's go ahead and take the throttle cable off next. Kind of a precarious little situation. Oh, great. I just broke the plastic sheath around my cable. That was awesome. Been there for 53 years, and here I am breaking it. Accelerator spring. Not a huge deal. I only got 1 on there? Man, that's kind of dangerous. I need to put 2 on there. And we're going to get these vacuum lines off the back of this carburetor next. I can't recall why I put a clamp on that one. I guess I didn't want it to leak. All right, let's take the kick down switch off next, I think. Probably should have taken the idle stop solenoid off first. That was kind of annoying. That's what your kick down switch looks like. If you have one of these cars, do not lose this. It's pretty much unobtainium, I think. All right, go ahead and take the divorced choke off next. Got a couple of 3/8 inch bolts. That one usually, yeah, okay. That was easy. All right, I think we're ready to take the carburetor off, take the 4 bolts out, and the last big vacuum line on the front, I'll leave that till last because you need to move the carburetor back a little bit to, or it goes to the PVC. You could just take this, you know, the whole thing with it. So either way will work. Those bolts there were a little loose, but these Quadrajet bolts usually find a way to loosen up over time. So you should always check your Quadrajet carburetor mounting bolts on occasion, and then just snug them up. I think what happens is the base gasket compresses over time, and don't want to overdo it though. You can warp the casing on the carburetor. They usually you know, stick to the intake and to the carb like glue after a while, after they get some heat on them. So they, you know, they seal up. There we go. Come on, Mr. PVC, you're going to come along for the ride. All right, I had to go up to the O'Reilly and pick up a pack of offset wrenches, you know, those things, to get at this 1 9/16 inch bolt here. And man, that works a treat. There we go. Just needed a little help. He's loose now. Can't even get my fingers in there. What a place for a bolt. All right, last bolt on the compressor fiasco. I've been debating on whether or not I wanted to replace this radiator hose, but the thermostat housing is looking a little gnarly and rusty. I'd have to take the hose off anyway to clean it up. It's been on there for a couple of years. Might as well cut it off. I guess we'll just make a mess. All right, a little screwdriver action in there. Come on. There we go. Just get on out of there. Don't give me a hard time. Boy, that's a lot. All right, got the hose pulled off and pulled back there and tied off. Had kind of a spillage, so I got the kitty litter out and got a big old, when I spill something, it runs toward the middle of the shop, which is convenient actually. It runs from underneath the car towards the middle of the shop, and you can just go out there and put the oil dry on it or whatever you have and clean it up. Anyway, let's get these wires off here. Got them numbered. All right, let's see if I can get there. Let me get this thermostat housing off of here. All right, I give up. I thought maybe I could do this without having to drain the radiator, but no, I think that's what I'm gonna have to do. If I take that off of there, I'm just gonna have another big old spill. So let me get this car in the air real quick, drain some of this coolant out of that radiator, and then we can proceed on with the rest of our video. This container here, Igloo Cargo 6-gallon, came with a pour spout and a little cap, and I wrote coolant only on the side, and if I need to drain a radiator or whatever, this is what I do it with, and I only use this container for coolant, and I keep it clean, and when I drain this out, I'm just going to pour it back in the engine. So it seems to have worked out pretty well, because I've had to drain the Corvette radiator like 3 or 4 times. All right, let me let this run for a while, a good long while actually, and we'll get back to our project under the engine bay. I'll see you in about a month. All right, so let's go ahead and take this little bit of electronics off of the intake manifold next. This is the idle stop solenoid or anti-dieseling solenoid. This device is used to set the idle on these old cars. Man, look at that. That was broken. Did I break it? Oh, yeah, I sure did. Look at that. That was stupid. That's on me. I didn't disconnect the electrical harness when I pulled the air conditioning compressor back. It got ripped out of the yeah, so what this is a suppressor for the radio. I think it's like a filter, which is not a huge deal. So this little capacitor here gets connected right there. I guess I could just pick up a new one. I broke the wire off of that one. Had the same thing happen to the Corvette. Why am I talking about this so much? Anyway, same thing happened to the Corvette. You can get them. They're readily available, so I'll get a new one. Okay, disaster averted. This side of the coil over here has got a yellow. There's a red and a blue on the positive side and a yellow on the negative side. This is an HEI ignition system. It's made by CRT Performance. Go ahead and take a look at a previous video where I installed and set this thing up. I used a special relay installed over there near the battery, utilizing the stock resistor wire, and I used a resistor wire to turn on the relay so that the new CRT Performance distributor can get a full 12 volts. Now, that's all I want to say about that. All right, I just wanted to note the wire colors. Let's go ahead and get this stuff off of the engine. Note to self, do not drop bolts in the intake manifold. Not that it's going to worry, not that it's going to matter all that much, because we're taking it off the engine anyway, but whatever, you know. I keep saying to myself I don't want to take like a whole bunch of stuff apart, but there's no way around it, really. I'm trying to minimize the amount of work, you know. Like dropping that washer down in the exhaust manifold. And let's get this anti-dieseling, idle stop, whatever you want to call it, solenoid out of here. Actually, a very useful device. Okay, let's see what we're going to do about our wires here. All right, so if you don't know, it's this wiring harness here, this cruddy looking wiring harness. We're going to put some proper stuff around this when we're done. But anyway, this pink wire here is a resistor wire. Basically, that powers the breaker points coil, which is now gone. But this goes to the relay over there near the battery. Activates the relay and then sends full 12 volts back via this blue wire. So, and that's what goes to the new coil. All right, I relented and went ahead and just, cleared away the entire wiring harness there on this side of the engine. So I got it all tucked away back down in there. Anyway, I think up next we're ready to take the bolts out of the intake manifold. And that rascal's heavy. It's cast iron, and I'm old, so I think I'm gonna use the cherry picker to take that manifold off of this engine. I know that sounds silly, but yeah. I mean, you know, look how far it is from here. Way over there. You have to lean way over here and reach out and then pick up. And last time I did it, what I did was I took a big piece of cardboard. I put maybe a blanket over here or something, and then I put some cardboard over all of this, over the top of the valve cover, and I inched it up and kind of slid it across. You know, it's just a huge awkward situation to try to pick up that gargantuan manifold. I'm just not going to do it. So anyway, let's get the bolts out of it, break it free, get the cherry picker over here, and get it up off the motor. All right, let's take the bolts out of this intake manifold here. Where shall we start? I don't know. Let's, how about the end? I don't know. There we go. All right, that's all the bolts. Let me get a pry bar and break that thing free. All right, let's go ahead and put this little doohickey on here. All right, so the idea here is instead of me trying to fight this thing and pry it off the engine, I'm just going to put upward pressure with the cherry picker and then maybe just kind of tap around a little bit and maybe it'll pop free. I don't know, let's just try that. You know, something different. All right, I relented and decided to take the air conditioning compressor off, and I've already disconnected the lines, and I cracked the lines, and there was no gas left in the system. It had all leaked out, so no big deal there. I polluted the environment, but slowly over time. So anyway, I've already unbolted the lines from the compressor, and that was a stupid idea anyway. I just really didn't want to take it off, but I guess I'll have to. So anyway, let me finish taking these hoses and off of this compressor and get this thing out of here, and let's go ahead and get this intake off the engine. All right, I think we got everything straightened out and ready to go here. So I got my boom on my lift, my cherry picker hyper extended. We can hyper extend it a little more because, you know, we're not picking up a, let's see, that's a bit too far. We don't want to put too much undue pressure on it. We're not picking up an engine, so we can hyper extend it out. The last hole is a half a ton, which is 1,000 pounds, so a few tens of pounds on it, just enough to break this thing free and lift it out of here. I can't go any further underneath the car without lifting the car because it hits the suspension. So that's good enough for now. Let's put a little tension on that rascal and see what happens here. That's a little tension. Let's just tap, tap, tap. I am lifting the car. This is kind of what I thought would happen. I should just go to lunch and just let the adhesive slowly release, and then I'll come back and it's done for me. That's a good plan. All right, I was tapping around on it like that, and I heard a thump. I think we did something here. Let's see. There we go. Come on off of there. Look at that. Look how easy that is. I ain't have to get in there and break my back or anything. All that jazz. The vacuum advance is in the way, however, so I'll need to manipulate around that in some fashion. Not sure how I'm going to do it. It'll be all right though. I can just move it out of the way like that. It'll be all right. This is so easy. Why don't other engine people do it this way? Let's wheel her out of there. All right, there we go. 472. lifter valley. We got some brown rings there around the bottom of those lifters there. They might offer some resistance pulling those out of the motor. I don't know. We'll find out later, I guess. But wanted to try to get the lifters out of this engine, so guess I need to take the valve covers off and take the rocker shaft assemblies off next. Well, you guys stick around. It's just now getting good. All right, I got the driver's side valve cover off. I don't see anything glaring. Didn't really expect to see anything glaring, but no debris, no craziness. One thing I did notice was this rocker on the end here, number 2 intake, a little wiggly. That might be the source of the chatter at cold idle right there. Might need a longer push rod on that one. Making a guess, really don't know. That one's a little wiggly, but not, yeah, there's a little clank on that one. That's not a very good judging factor, is it? I got a little clank on all of them. No, not that one. Well, they're under the valve. Like the valve on this one, I look down there. Yeah, that valve is starting to come open there. So, all right, similar situation over here. Got one that's really loosey-goosey, and when I rap on it, I'd be willing to bet that might be the chatter that we hear on cold startup. It goes away after the engine gets hot, but all the others seem, that one's slightly loose. Again, I assume this is normal for them to be a little loose, but not overly so. I believe there's a white paper on this in the 472-500 Facebook page that describes this looseness, and you can make a modification here to address it. But anyway, I'm not sure if that's applicable in this case. I think next thing up is go ahead and take the rocker assemblies off. Yeah, put it on low or medium. There we go. Gently. Come on off there. Y'all stay in the motor. We're not ready for y'all yet. All right, let's get this over to the workbench. I got my bore scope down in these intake ports here, and backside of those valves is really gnarly, black, carboned up, juicy. You know, I suppose this is the way it is, but I cleaned them a few years ago. They got dirty again. All right, I need to bag and tag some parts. So what I want to do is a lifter and a push rod together in the same Ziploc bag. Do I have Ziploc bags long enough? I'm not sure. Let's go find out. Yeah, I could go get a box and poke holes in it and do all that kind of stuff, but I don't want to. I'm going to bag and tag each lifter and each push rod and keep them together because they're married now. They've been married for 54 years. So this is 2 intake. All right, I lifted number 2 intake out with this little guy right here. Just grab that there's a little wire. Where are you guys at? There's a little wire right there. Pay attention. Just ease it up. See this little wear? I guess it's a wear mark where the lifter doesn't ride, right? This brown part is where the lifter, well, it just doesn't do anything. It's not inside a bore. It only lifts, so far. So this part right here will grab inside the lifter bore. So what you want to do is, like I've ever actually done this before much, just lift it up out of there and you get your fingers on it, gently, twiddle it back and forth, very gently, and it'll work its way out of the hole there. So that looks like a mirror finish, and I see a circular pattern because these guys rotate in the bore. So I got a little little measuring tool. It came with a set of feeler gauges. I thought maybe I could just tell whether or not it had a crown on it. Seems like I feel a slight rocking. Of course, then again, I'll have to look this up to see what it's supposed to, what it's supposed to feel like. All right, well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pull all the push rods and lifters out of the car, and I'm going to bag each pair in its own little baggie like that. My intentions are to, if there's no bad lifters, I'm going to take these apart and clean them up inside and rebuild them. All right, so I'm looking down in the lifter bores, just eyeballing things, and I can see a darker pattern on the cam lobe and a lighter pattern. And the lighter pattern is not supposed to be like way over at the edge. It's supposed to be fairly wide, and that's what I'm seeing here. And you can see what I'm talking about right there on the one I haven't removed. Right, you have a fairly wide pattern there. That's where the lobe is contacting the lifter and rotating it in the bore. And everything I've pulled out of here looks really good. We've got this side all tucked away. I'm going to go ahead and do the passenger side next. And I wrapped each one with a little oil and a napkin. I know it's overkill, but whatever. It's me. Hey, I'm going to take them all apart and clean them all out, and so that's the reason why I'm doing this. So far, everything looks great. Lifters look like they're rotating properly in the bores, and I haven't encountered too much resistance when pulling a lifter out of a bore. You have to gingerly get at that, But there was one right in here that I had to work on for a couple minutes. But other than that, it's good to go. I'm going to go ahead and get the other side out of here next, and we'll move on. All right, so this is number 1 exhaust. Not sure if you're seeing that. I just wanted to highlight this, the ring here where the cam lobe rotates the lifter. You can see the wear mark around the exterior of the lifter. Most of the others, the rings have been more towards the center. Not sure how important that is, but I can even see it. The crown's supposed to be like 1 to 2 thousandths, something like that. All right, folks, appreciate you guys sticking around. That's all for this weekend. I got most of the top end off of this engine. Got the lifters and push rods out, and the intake off, and the carb, and all the wiring and all that jazz. Just got to pull the heads next. By the way, all the parts I'm yanking off the car are in the trunk. So I was trying to figure out, where am I going to store this stuff? A 71 Cadillac has a monstrous trunk, and it has plenty of room for parts. So I think in the next video what we'll do is we'll probably dive into the lifters. I'd like to take them apart. I just want to make sure they're not gummy inside, they don't have any debris, make sure they're functioning properly. I think they probably are, just from looking at the state of them as I pulled them out of the car. They all basically look perfect in my mind. It could be the idling issue is simply the valves. It may just need a valve job, and the heads need to come off. So that's probably what we're going to end up doing. And I'll need to make a decision as to whether or not I'm going to send the heads to a machine shop or try to do them myself. Maybe I could pick up a cheap valve grinding machine somewhere off the Facebook Marketplace and rebuild. No, never mind. Forget it. Just forget it. Forget it. You don't need to do that. I found a different machine shop, by the way, here locally. The other one was fine. They did a great job on the Corvette short block. But, oh man, the wait time, it was 3 months, But there's another one that specializes in just car stuff, because the one I used did big trucks and cars, so their backlog was just huge. So I'm going to try a different machine shop, I think. All right, folks, that's enough for now. Appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell. You guys have a good one, and remember to enjoy taking care of your classic Cadillac.